Okay, folks. Okay, folks. As one Crookshank here, your one and only Move Swiftly speaker. Again, so here's what happened. I have been very critical of our current recording this. It is October 15th, 2024, and our current vice president and the Democratic nominee for president of the United States, Miss Vice President Kamala Harris, has has decided to put out an agenda for us black men. All right, us black men. And because I have been very critical of her over the past couple months, I had a very strong reaction to what our former President Obama said to us as he scolded black men. As he made kind of tried to put black men on a guilt trip for considering the other candidate and doing our research and really trying to figure out who the best candidate was. And he of all people, the author of The Audacity of Hope, actually had the audacity to compare his election, the '08 election, to the '24 election. I went on and I went on a pretty much of a rant that a lot of other black men went on in regards to how he talked to us, or just the generalizations that he made. So because of that, and it's not a surprise to me. I'm not shy about saying this, but seeing that happened and it had such a negative effect on the Democratic Party and how it really just made it's just a bad look for them in general. I believe that this, I guess you call it a policy, an economic, a memo. I don't know what you actually call this specifically, but Vice President Harris has put out a policy, quote unquote, to all black men. As you see right here, she made it for black men that I read in full detail on my phone, but I wanted to read it live and on camera just so you guys hear it read full throughout and just listen to the language of it, listen to how it sounds, and put yourself in my shoes. Again, black man who's currently an educator, and I run my own business. I do both. So this letter or this memo is specifically made for men like me, and listen to the language of it as I read you through. It's only 9 pages, so stay with me throughout the entire thing. All right, so here we go. Vice President Harris will deliver for black men. She will provide the tools to black men to build wealth, support their families, and lead in their communities. Vice President Harris will build an opportunity economy where everyone has the opportunity to not just get by, but to get ahead. She knows that black men have long felt that too often their voice in our political process has gone unheard, and that there's so much untapped ambition and leadership within the black male community. Again, right there really bothers me, seeing that community has nothing to do with skin colors. Community has nothing to do with gender. Community is more so about a person's characteristics and what they're all about. And again, being born black and being born a male, you don't have control over those things. So when you say black male community, you're lumping us into one specific thing through something that we can't control. I'll keep going. Black men and boys deserve a president who will provide the opportunity to unleash this talent and potential by removing historic barriers to wealth creation, education, employment, earnings, health, and improving the criminal justice system. Black men deserve a president who will deliver on promises and equip them with the tools and resources to make their aspirations a reality. Again, sounds like one of our interviews where you're starting off with nothing but word salad. All right, well, I'll keep going. I'll keep going. This year, Vice President Harris launched a first of its kind nationwide economic opportunity tour to help entrepreneurs access the capital and resources they need to launch and grow their businesses, build wealth, and strengthen their communities, especially Black male entrepreneurs. While traveling across the country to cities like Atlanta, Detroit, Charlotte, she heard powerful stories from Black men about the biggest hurdles to that still make it too difficult for them to get their businesses off the ground and grow them to meet their full ambitions, and discussed policies that can help break down the remaining barriers to success. Again, Here's the issue again, and whoever's writing this for her, here's what I would have suggested is, can you tell me what the actual hurdles were? What are the hurdles? Get specific on the hurdles. So if you're actually talking to black men and they're telling you powerful stories, then they should have told you specifically what the hurdles were. Okay, but hey, maybe she's going to get to it. Maybe I'm rushing. All right. Drawing on insights from her experience throughout her career and her economic opportunity tour, today Vice President Harris is laying out an opportunity agenda for Black men to provide them with the tools to achieve financial freedom, lower costs to better provide for themselves and their families, and protect their rights. This path-breaking agenda includes, number one, providing 1 million loans that are fully forgivable to Black entrepreneurs and others to start a business. The fully forgivable thing. I remember my dad's a small business owner, and I remember him years ago telling me that taking out a loan is just a bad idea in general. But that's number one. It's the first thing. Again, apparently us as black men, that's what we need loans. All right. So number two, championing education, training, and mentorship program that help black men get good paying jobs in high demand industries and lead their communities, including pathways to become teachers. Like I said, I myself am a teacher, and this happened without Kamala Harris. So I don't see how you being president is going to actually help this, because there's no actual detail in terms of what's going to be different about when you do it. But anyway, again, I'll keep going. Number three, supporting a regulatory framework for cryptocurrency and other digital assets so black men who invest in and own these assets are protected. I had absolutely no interest in cryptocurrency at all, and digital assets. That can be, it's a lot of variables in anything that's digital. Number four, launching national health equity initiative focused on black men that addresses sickle cell disease, diabetes, mental health, prostate cancer, and other health challenges that disproportionately impact them. Again, we're talking health disease that doesn't know color. I understand that the numbers say that a lot of black men have these specific diseases, and I can appreciate what you're trying to do here, but it's more than just color in these things. Here's the one that really, really, with the language in it, I almost hate the fact that I have to read it to you. But anyway, number five, legalizing recreational marijuana and creating opportunities for Black Americans to succeed in this new industry. So basically saying everybody can get high and assuming that us as black people are, a bunch of weed smokers. Again, that is incredibly offensive, seeing as I'm a person that does not smoke marijuana and never had a huge desire. Again, I tried it a few times in college, and it's not something that I specifically need, and I am a black male. So here we go. That's her plan. And then this is what she decides to do, as she always does, is she goes right to Donald Trump. Donald Trump, and this is what I want you guys to understand before I even go any further. If this is her plan, there should be zero mentions of Donald Trump. Donald Trump is not the president. Donald Trump is not the vice president. You are. So there should be no mentions of him if you are in position to already make some of these things happen. But I'd say about 60% of this entire memo, this entire plan, has Donald Trump's name written all over it. So I'll read through it as fast as I can, so we can try to sip out or suss out her actual policies and what she actually says she's going to do. So here we go. Donald Trump spent 4 years making black men's lives harder. On his watch, millions of black men lost their jobs, thousands closed their businesses, and hundreds and thousands lost their health insurance. As thousands of black men lost their lives to COVID-19, Donald Trump denied the severity of the crisis and made millions more unsafe. Crime in the black neighborhoods soared while Donald Trump tried cutting funding for public safety and made black communities less secure. Again, we talked about this term right here, black communities. No such thing. He has repeatedly shown open contempt for Black Americans and Black men, attacking their rights, fueling division, and standing in the way of their progress. He falsely accused the exonerated five and called for them to receive the death penalty. His history as a landlord is checkered with repeated allegations of racial discrimination and outright refusal to rent to black tenants. Following the murder of George Floyd, Trump described black protesters as thugs, threatening that when the looting starts and shooting starts, as president, he referred to Haiti and African nations as shithole countries. And most recently, Trump spread falsehoods about Black Haitians eating pets of their neighbors, and in the past described Haiti and other majority Black nations as shitholes. If he's reelected, his hostility towards Black men and their communities will continue. His Project 2025 agenda doubles down on his mistreatment of Black men and their families, promising to cut funding for urban education and bring back stop and frisk practices and slash critical investments in safety net programs like Obamacare, Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. Meanwhile, he will slap a Trump tax on everything from food to gasoline, raising costs on the average Black family by nearly $4,000 or more. He will erase 4 years of financial gains and job growth for Black men and leave their communities worse off for it. Whew, that's a lot there, and I don't have time to dive deep into that because, again, what it says here is this is Vice President Kamala, what Kamala Harris will deliver, and you just spent a whole 3 paragraphs talking about what Trump has done. But again, let's get to some more of what Harris will provide because she has to mention Trump in a letter that's for us. All right, so Vice President Harris will lower costs and give Black men the tools to build wealth to provide for their families and lead their communities. Okay, so she's getting into her points now. Vice President knows the costs are too high for Black men and that Black men have long been denied the tools that would allow them to grow their wealth and get a good paying job and support their loved ones. That's why she has a plan to address these concerns. Okay, 2 pages in, and we finally get to the actual plan. She will ensure that Black men can build wealth and achieve economic success by providing $1 million of 20. This is what you just said. If you read $1 million loans that are fully forgivable up to $20,000 to Black entrepreneurs and others who have historically faced barriers to starting a new business and growing an existing business in partnership with trusted organizations like mission leaders and banks and proving commitment to their communities. Again, what are the barriers? The barriers, if you're hearing people tell you stories about what the hurdles were, we should have some sort of an indication on what the barriers actually are. Vice President has already laid out a plan. Okay, fuck is it? To help more small businesses start, innovate, and expand. She proposed a historic tenfold expansion of the tax deduction for small business startup expenses from $5,000 to $50,000, an initiative to help existing small businesses grow by providing low and no interest loans to small businesses that want to expand, boosting access to venture capital and supporting innovation hubs and business incubators. And she said that said is just, again, this is politics now. She will cut unnecessary red tape that makes it harder for small businesses to file taxes and hire reliable workforce and get off the ground. You guys tell me in this first paragraph, is this about Black men or is this about just anybody who starts a small business? You don't have to be Black to start a small business. But Vice President Harris knows that today the money needed to start your own business is not accessible for many Black Americans. Studies suggest that Black Americans are twice as likely to be denied credit by banks, regardless of their credit scores. Experts and Black entrepreneurs have identified limited access to capital as the most important factor that limits the creation of growth in Black-owned businesses. That's why today she is proposing a new partnership, meaning not concrete. Again, read your shit, folks. Read it. Proposing. It is not in place yet. A new partnership between the Small Business Administration and trusted partners on the ground to provide loans that are forgivable up to $20,000 to entrepreneurs who have a good idea. Who said who is the person that's qualifying if it's a good idea or not? All right, who is actually the person? You going to be the person that says it's a good idea? Like, when it comes to good idea, that's too vague. That's the language is too damn vague. All right, but don't have access to the resource. But don't have the resources, connections, or access to capital to gain their business to get there. Excuse me. So sometimes I read shit and it pisses me off. But all right, let me focus in because certain things are getting me distracted. All right. who have a good idea but don't have the resources, connections, or access to capital to get their business off the ground, as well as entrepreneurs locating access to capital to get their business off the ground, as well as entrepreneurs locating in under, you mean located, motherfucker? Yes, administration or capital to get their business off the ground, as well as entrepreneurs locating. Are you guys saying locating and under located? This is the fight. This I'm reading this shit right off her website, folks. It is right here. I'm not bullshitting you. It's right here on her website. I can't make this up, folks. If you go, it is right here on her. I'm reading it off her website. It says locating in underserved communities, guys. Located in underserved communities. But she has access to all the people to proofread this shit. This will help Black men and other Americans start or grow a business in their community when they don't have the startup capital. For example, these loans can help entrepreneurs rent office space and industry standard software to launch a cybersecurity company, pay for the permitting fees, and purchase a van for a catering business, set up a studio, and buy advertising for a new architectural company. My dad actually runs a small architectural company. Buy professional hairstyling equipment. I think that's again a little bit of a little moving on the generalization and there, and share space for barbershop. Oh no, she did. Buy lawnmowers and tools for a landscaper and more. She will also work with the private sector and call for additional funding to expand on proven ways to break down barriers and provide financing and venture capital to entrepreneurs and small business owners in Black communities. Again, here we go with that term again, Black communities. I have an actual article out there now explaining to you why there's actually no such thing as a Black community. There's just communities, and then there's personality. There's no sense. It makes no sense. We've been gaslit to believe that there's actually such a thing. Again, I'm going to keep going. Expanding access to bank accounts and lending to help Black men build wealth. Vice President Harris will also work with the private sector to expand access to affordable banking options that will allow Black men and others who are locked out of the banking system and the wealth building that comes with it because of high fees to save, invest, and build credit. She will also go after banks and slap on hidden fees She will also go after banks that slap on hidden fees for basic services. Vice President Harris took on predatory lenders when she was Attorney General of California. She will stand up for Americans who are exploited by predatory lending practices by going after these scammers and requiring credit reports to exclude bad debt resulting from predatory lending practices. Enabling Black men who hold digital assets to benefit from financial innovation. More than 20% of Black Americans own or have owned cryptocurrency assets. Vice President Harris appreciates the way in which new technologies can broaden access to banking and financial services. She will make sure owners and investors in digital assets benefit from a regulatory framework so that Black men and others who participate in this market are protected. Breaking down unfair, unnecessary barriers to employment for Black men. Vice President Harris knows that Black men are disproportionately shut out of the job market based on their criminal records and credit scores. I haven't been convicted. I actually have good credit. Again, criminal records and credit scores. Again, a lot of language that's very generalizational, kind of the tone in it as if Black men and criminal records have some sort of synonymous relationship. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. Okay. And she gets to say because she herself is Black, but that's just bullshit in my opinion. Anyway, Vice President Kamala Harris believes that employees should consider a job candidate's qualification first without the stigma of a conviction or arrest record. Why does arrest record and convictions got to be up? Why always got to be around us, right? That's why she will work with Congress to require businesses to limit the use of unnecessary criminal arrest histories, convictions, and credit scores in their employment decisions. Laws like these have been shown to lead to increased employment among Black men and have been embraced by 37 states and 150 cities led by Republican and Democratic governors. This program would build on her work as an Attorney General of California and District Attorney, where she implemented nationally nationally recognized and successful programs to help former offenders secure employment, reduce recidivism, and reintegrate into and contribute to their communities. See the of them. All right. Enabling Black men and other workers to profit when company executives profit. Right now, Black employment rates are at an all-time highs. Okay. Enabling Black men and other workers to profit when company executives profit. Right now, Black employment rates are at an all-time highs. Right now, Black employment rates are at all-time highs, but too few Black Americans own assets that build wealth over time. Vice President Harris has a plan to help Black men own more assets by reforming our tax laws to reward employer participation in employee stock ownership plans, profit sharing plans, and comparable arrangements with appropriate guardrails to ensure these plans benefit and protect workers, giving low and moderate income workers a stake in the business has been shown to close the racial wealth gap and fuel business growth, a win-win proposition. I don't know how she's going to convince an owner of a business that's has a profit that's worth sharing to tell this business owner that they have to implement something in which the low-level employee that they hire, now she's going to come in and tell people that they have to share their profits with the owner that they hired as if she started the company. Okay, good luck trying to get that done. Expanding pathways for Black men to good paying jobs, whether or not they have a college degree. I have a college degree. As a Black man, I have a college degree. So I don't know why you have to put the not have a college degree when you're associating or putting a plan together for Black men. Again, very offensive stuff, but I'm going to keep reading. Vice President Harris will also eliminate unnecessary degree requirements and promote meaningful pathways for those without college degree for 500,000 federal jobs, and she will challenge the business community to do the same. Challenge the business community? What the fuck does that mean? You're going to challenge the business? What the hell are you going to do to the business community to tell them what the qualifications they need for the people that they hire for the company that they started? That does... Take a breath. Let me take a sip of water. She will set a goal to double the number of registered apprenticeships in America by the end of her first term, which provide quality training in high demand industries with a clear pathway to a good paying job, and will bring together high schools, trusted community organizations like the National Urban League, state and local governments, and the private sector to ensure that Black men are able to get the training and technical credentials they need to succeed in these registered apprenticeship opportunities and access jobs in highly paid, sought-after professions. Moreover, she will help Black men stay in school by investing in programs aimed at retention and graduation of Black men and boys, not just from high school, but also from high-quality career and technical education programs and 2- and 4-year institutions providing ongoing mentorship and support. So she's going to provide the fucking mentorship, right? I need to stop cussing. I know I need to, watch my language. I'm talking about the vice president like this. I'm just reading what she put on her website. Okay, guys. So I have it all laid out for you guys so you can take it again. I'm never going to tell you who you need to be voting for. I'm never going to try to sway your decision one way or the other. I'm just here to give you all of the facts and everything I'm reading. All right. Providing more pathways for Black men to become teachers and school leaders. Again, that is actually what I currently am. So here we go. I'm in this 1% that she's talking about. Only 1% of public school teachers are Black men. Vice President Harris will build a pipeline of Black male teachers, including by investing. Only 1% of public school teachers are Black men. Vice President Harris will build a pipeline of Black male teachers, including by what the including by investing in pro how we in, including by why including by investing in programs under the Department of Education, which Trump wants, there we go with Trump again, Trump wants to eliminate to collaborate with historically Black colleges and universities, HBCUs, and minority serving institutions, MSIs, that will empower Black men and others to enter and succeed in the teaching profession, where they can serve as role models and mentors to students and improve academic outcomes. Vice President Harris will also expand registered apprenticeships for teachers and continue to support the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program to recruit and retain Black male teachers, which Trump, here we go, Trump again, which Trump tried to eliminate as president. Statistics have shown that Black student retention rates and overall success is increased when they have at least one Black male teacher during their elementary school years. Investing grant programs for mentorship and leadership development. Vice President Harris will commit to expanding the funding for existing community mentorship programs that have a proven track record of helping young Black men succeed and connecting them with established leaders in various fields, thereby establishing the next generation of community leaders. She will also support programs like My Brother's Keeper and increase investments in leadership training and mentorship within public schools, as well as HBCUs and MSIs, to provide more opportunities for young Black men to develop leadership skills very early throughout their development. Providing financial support to financially stressed farmers and ranchers, including Black farmers and ranchers that have been denied access to capital by banks and federal government for discriminatory reasons. Vice President Harris already distributed more than $2 billion to more than 43,000 farmers and ranchers, including thousands of Black farmers and ranchers who were discriminated against and denied access to loans and other financial support from banks and federal government. Now she'll commit to scaling up this program by providing additional financial support to more farmers and ranchers facing financial stress, including Black male farmers and ranchers, so that they can grow their farms and ranches and stay competitive. Providing Black men and their families with reliable, low-cost internet access by reenacting the Affordable Connectivity Program. The Bipartisan Infrastructure Laws Affordable Connectivity Program provided 23 million households with up to $30 off of their monthly internet bills and a one-time discount up to $100 to buy a laptop, desktop, computer, or tablet. This program connected an estimated 5.5 million Black households to affordable high-speed internet, closing the digital divide for millions of Black families. Vice President Harris will reenact this popular program, which ended June of this year, to ensure that Black men and their families throughout the country are able to connect to the internet and obtain the financial, educational, and employment opportunities that come with the reliable internet access. Relieving the burden of medical debt so Black men can take advantage of opportunities to build wealth and start businesses. More than 1 in 4 Black households report having medical debt significantly higher than the rate of medical debt of all adults. Vice President Harris's plan to work with states to relieve medical debt, the leading cause of bankruptcy in America, will disproportionately help Black Americans. She will also implement the rule that would remove medical bills from most Americans' credit reports, enabling them to more easily be approved for mortgages, car loans, and more. Indeed, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau estimates roughly 22,000 more safe mortgages could be approved annually as a result of this rule. She will also make it a top priority to lower costs for Black men by revitalizing competition in food and groceries and enacting the first ever federal ban on corporate price gouging, benefiting Black families who spend significantly more on their budget on groceries, or more of their budget on groceries than other families. Lowering rent. Vice President Harris will incentivize the private sector. There we go with this incentivize. How the fuck are you going to do that? The private sector to create new affordable housing units throughout the country so that the high cost of rent does not stand in the way of anyone's ambitions. She will also partner with the private sector to build 3 million additional housing units in her first term. And she will go after price fixing schemes and raise housing costs for Black men and their families and end the unfair practices and help large corporate that help large corporate landlords dramatically raise rents. How are you going to, and you're going to incentivize these people? They run the building. You're not going to more than more than a tripling number of first-time Black home buyers each year by the end of the first of her first term through her housing plan. Vice President Harris has proposed an ambitious plan to lower the cost of renting and buying a home by building 3 million additional homes and providing up to $25,000 for a down payment for the first-time home buyers who lack inherited wealth. Okay. Based on an analysis by Moody's, the number of first-time Black home owners will more than triple per year under her housing plan, a 2,500,000 yearly increase by the end of her first term. Although home ownership is a key engine of wealth building in America, fewer than 20% of Black Americans under the age of 35 own a home, less than half the rate of white Americans. Research shows that promoting first-generation home ownership is associated with not only building wealth, but also improved health and educational outcomes for children in the home. Fighting to end racial bias in home appraisals that have lowered home values for Black men and Black Americans. For Black Americans that do own a home, for Black Americans that do own a home, homes in more majority Black neighborhoods are nearly twice as likely to be appraised below the contract price than those in neighborhoods that are majority white. As Vice President Kamala Harris took on appraisal bias by ensuring consumers can appeal and providing greater training and professional development for appraisers. As a result, the rate of difference between Black and white home values have declined 40%, which is creating a significant increase in the values of Black homes. Now, as president, she will ramp up efforts to root out racial bias in home appraisals to make it easier for Black men and Black Americans to build wealth for their families. Again, I mean, this language, if you guys are noticing the theme in this, here, let me just go back. Efforts to root out. What are the efforts? What? How are you going to do it? You just keep saying you're going to do this. You're going to do this. You're going to do this. All right. We're almost there, guys. Trust me. We're on page 6. It goes by pretty quick. Helping reduce costs for Black men with children through tax cuts and affordable childcare. Vice President Harris will help Black men working to provide for themselves and their families by expanding the child tax credit to provide $3,600 per child and providing up to $6,000 for new parents in the first year of a child's life to help Black families purchase cribs, diapers, clothes, and car seats when they are most needed. She will also save families thousands of dollars in childcare costs and increase access to high quality childcare options, including by, here we go again with this shit, probably did this shit on some AI, probably some chat GPT shit, including by, I'm going to go back. She will also save families thousands of dollars in childcare costs and increase access to high quality childcare options, including by supporting, that's what I'm saying. So it should be included by, yeah. Supporting small businesses and child care providers, helping Black men provide care for their aging parents. Also, 40% of caregivers, older adults, are men, and 1/3 of that group is Black. Vice President Harris will help Black men with caregiving needs by providing home care services through Medicare so that seniors are able to get the care they need while staying in their homes. Cutting taxes for Black men and lower wage jobs by increasing the earned income tax minimum to $1,500 so that more of the money they make can go towards achieving their dreams. Okay, so that was pretty much, let's go back real quick. Those are her five things, and she ran through the housing and all that stuff. And then, boom, here we go. Donald Trump and his Project 2025 agenda would raise costs and increase the racial wealth gap for Black men and their families. Again, if it's supposed to be what you're going to do, I don't get why Donald Trump has so much has is mentioned so much in your proposed plan. But anyway, Trump wants to raise prices for household goods from clothing to groceries to medicines, cost and typical family nearly $4,000 a year by slapping hidden taxes on goods coming into the United States. Under Trump, jobs disappeared. Jobs, so she's speaking in past tense, disappeared, and unemployment spiked nearly 17% for Black Americans, including 16% for Black men. During the pandemic, Trump shortchanged many Black-owned businesses and gave special treatments to large and well-connected companies. Trump's Project 2025 agenda will give tax windfalls to big corporations and the wealthy while raising taxes to middle-class families. Trump's Project 2025 agenda will terminate the public service loan forgiveness program, which will affect more than 3.6 million educated social workers, nurses, and other public service workers, and will leave borrowers who are already in the pipeline for relief saddled with $250 billion in student loan debt. Vice President Harris, however, will ensure Black men have access to high quality, affordable health care. President Harris and Governor Walz are committed to bringing down healthcare costs and protecting access to healthcare. Black Americans face higher risk of developing cancer, diabetes, and other chronic and costly disease. To ensure that Black men have their healthcare needs met, Vice President Harris will launch a health equity initiative for Black men. Vice President Harris knows that Black men face elevated risk for health conditions like diabetes, sickle cell disease, prostate cancer, and more. That's why she will cap insulin costs at $35 a month and out-of-pocket spending on prescription drugs at $2,000 for all Americans, bringing down costs for Black Americans who are two-thirds more likely to have diabetes and are more likely to report their drugs because of cost concerns. Okay. I had a grandmother that passed away from diabetes, so okay, I can get with this. She will also expand preventative screening programs, including prostate and colon cancer screenings, where the risk factors for Black men are especially high, and she will expand the budget of the National Institute of Minority Health and Health Disparities, fully fund the sickle cell data collection program, and build a sickle cell database to improve prevention and treatment. As part of the initiative, she will also expand access to mental health and substance abuse treatment and work to reduce the persistent stigma around seeking such treatment among Black men. Okay, so all right, see that this is something I can get with. Increase investments in HBCUs and MSI medical schools and healthcare programs to train the medical workforce, including mental health professionals that understand the needs of experiences of Black patients in the healthcare system. HBCUs and MSIs disproportionately produce the country's Black doctors and other critical health professionals are focused on addressing healthcare and inequalities and building a more diverse workforce in the future. Protect the Strength of Affordable Care Act to ensure that 1 in 4 Black Americans with pre-existing conditions can keep access to affordable health care, keep health insurance premiums down so that Black men and their families can see a doctor and get treated without breaking the bank, protect access to clean water, clean air and clean water. Today, too many Black Americans do not have access to clean air and clean water, threatening health, safety, and prosperity of Black communities across the country. Black people in the United States are 40% more likely to suffer from asthma compared to white people, which is often caused by worsened by harmful air pollution and are more likely to be exposed to toxic lead through water pipes. Vice President Harris helped secure over $15 billion in funding to replace the lead pipes and was the tie-breaking vote on the largest ever investment in the clean energy technologies that don't cause pollution. President, she will ensure all lead pipes across the country are replaced. Okay, see now this more sentences like this is actually a plan, right? This is good. She will ensure all lead pipes around the country are replaced. And we'll continue to invest in energy sources that pollute less and will hold polluters accountable to secure clean air and clean water. So there needs to be more sentences like this. This is actually something that she's going to do, replace the pipes. But initiative and root out stuff, that language is just kind of too vague for my liking. Here we go. All right, she makes a good point, and then boom, we got to go back to Trump. Trump and his Project 25 agenda will increase drug costs and rip away access to insurance for millions of Black men and their families. And the Trump 300,000 Black Americans lost health insurance in the first 2 years. He now promises to terminate the Affordable Care Act, ripping insurance coverage from over 3 million Black Americans and raising costs for millions of Black families. If Trump is elected to a second term, nearly 1 in 4 Black Americans who have been diagnosed with a pre-existing condition like asthma, diabetes, and cancer could be denied coverage and charged thousands of dollars more for health insurance. Trump will cut Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid as he tried to do in every one of his budgets. Black Americans are more likely to rely on Medicare and Medicaid. And 33% of Black Americans age 65 or older, their Social Security is their only source of income. Project 2025 agenda will repeal the laws that cap prescription drug prices. Donald Trump brags about overturning Roe v. Wade. If elected, he will go even further. His Project 2025 agenda would ban abortion in all 50 states and restrict access to birth control. Vice President Harris will fight to protect the rights of Black men. We're almost in our last page, guys. Stay with me. As we enact policies that lift Black men up, we must remove the barriers that so often held them back. She will break down the legal barriers that hold Black men and other Americans back, like legalizing marijuana nationally. This is working with Congress to ensure that safe cultivation, distribution, and possession of recreational marijuana is the law of the land. She will also fight to ensure the national cannabis industry takes shape. Black men who have for years been over-policed for marijuana use are able to access wealth and jobs in this new market. Again, not a weed smoker. I don't engage in smoking marijuana like that. So I think that generalization is just bullshit. But that's me personally. I can't speak for every single Black man as she's attempting to do right now. But again, she's running for president and I'm teaching. So obviously two different jobs. Build trust and law enforcement and the communities they serve through the common sense policy reforms in the George Floyd Justice Policing Act, which bans chokeholds and no-knock warrants and raises use of force standards. She will also make investments to boost meaningful community-oriented policing and incentivize police departments to hire in the communities which they serve, such as through local police cadet programs and high school public safety academies, ensuring both Black men are treated fairly, that Black families are kept safe. Again, this is a more of a generalization because you're basically telling them that who they need to hire, and they need to hire people in their community, and you're overlooking the fact that they have a job to do when it comes to hiring the right people. So that's my caveat to that. Invest in improving community violence intervention programs. Vice President Harris will continue to invest millions of dollars in improving community violence intervention programs made available through Safer Communities, act to support local community-based organizations, most of which are led by Black men working with law enforcement to reduce violence and crime, empower local communities, and strengthen neighborhood services. Protect the right to vote, a right previous generation of Black Americans died fighting for, and to have a vote counted so that this election cycle, everyone to come, their voices will be heard. Vice President Harris will fight for the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act to stop racial voter suppression, and the Freedom to Vote Act to modernize our election, expand vote by mail and early voting, put an end to partisan gerrymandering and reduce the corrupting influence of money in politics. She will also surge resources to the Department of Justice and investigate and crack down on those suppressing or obstructing Black Americans from exercising their right to vote. Here we go. Donald Trump again. And his Project 2025 agenda will criminalize communities and roll back civil rights protections for Black Americans. Trump falsely accused exonerated five. And Jesus. Received death threats and penalties. Following the killing of George Floyd, Donald Trump called protesters thugs. She already said that and wrote when the so she said she's saying the same talking points. As President Trump granted fewer clemency than nearly every president since the start of the 20th century, and many of his grants were reserved for well-connected offenders and close to Trump associates. Trump's Department of Justice threatened federal prosecutions for marijuana in states where marijuana use is legal, continuing to unjust of disproportionate use, the unjust and disproportionate use of marijuana possession laws to put Black Americans behind bars. Trump wants to make stop and frisk practices mandatory for local police departments and is calling to defund departments that do not adopt his discriminatory policy. Trump's Project 2025 agenda will roll back civil rights protection for Black Americans. Again, everybody that I've talked to comes to this Project 2025. If you guys can send me some information in which it became Trump's Project 2025, like it's his thing that he actually wrote all 900 pages of it. If you guys can, then this is kind of defamation, because if he just mentioned Bill, that doesn't make it his Project 2025. But again, I digress. Let me finish out these last couple paragraphs and I'll give you some quick thoughts just to get out of it. I wanted to make sure I had it all read for you, and I'll give you some more thoughts as I go. Vice President Harris has long led efforts to ensure security and prosperity of Black men and Black families, from taking on corporations discriminating against Black Americans as California Attorney General to launching major initiatives to build wealth in Black communities. Go with this term, Black communities again. As Vice President over the past 4 years, Vice President Harris has worked alongside President Biden to increase Black wealth by 60% compared to before the pandemic and help over 250,000 Black Americans become homeowners. As Vice President and as a senator, she secured tens of billions of dollars for community development, financial institutions, CDFIs across the country, and launched the Economic Opportunity Coalition, a novel public-private initiative where private sector entities are driving tens of billions of dollars to underserved communities. She has also been fighting for justice reform for decades. As a San Francisco district attorney, she implemented a nationally recognized model to reduce recidivism rates from 50% to 10%. And as vice president, she strengthened accountability for federal law enforcement by banning chokeholds, restricting no-knock entries, and providing guidance on the use of force standards. But Vice President Harris knows there's so much more work to do to make Black men feel valued and like they have a government that cares about them and their dreams. For the future as president, she is committed to knocking down the barriers that have for so long kept Black men back from giving them the tools to achieve financial freedom, lower costs for themselves and their families to protect their rights. All right. Let me see if how I can say this in a quick way, because I gotta get out of here soon. But as a Black man, that wasn't easy at all to read, to be 100% honest with you. It's clearly a response to what President Obama, former president, our 44th president, clearly a response to what he said and how we reacted to what he said and how offended we felt and how loud those voices are. And instead of her addressing it directly on camera, she decided to have her team put out a statement, assuming, in my opinion, based on what I just read, assuming that very few of us Black men were going to actually read it line by line and ask ourselves, what's the difference between what you're actually saying on camera, what you're saying in these interviews where you're talking about an opportunity economy. I'm going to put it in writing and make it about Black men. So, these Black men can feel like, okay, I'm doing something for them specifically. You got to understand, when Obama was running in 2008, it wasn't about him doing anything for Black men. He was an actual Black man, and his presence and his his characteristics, his ability. I don't want to say his policies as much because this was back in '08. I wasn't really asking much about his policy. I just loved his swag. I loved his strut. I loved the way he talked to people. I loved Michelle, the whole thing. He didn't need to go and separate and create some memo that says we're going to help black men because he was an actual black man. So I don't particularly appreciate it. I mean, let me not say I don't appreciate it. I can appreciate her effort. I can appreciate her effort because I know she's in politics and I know it's not an easy game to get through. I know it's not easy being in the position she's in. But again, it's one of those things where you can just see she continues to expose herself in situations when it comes to educated black men like myself who would take the time to read it line by line and to really see what she's about. The language is incredibly vague, as you guys saw. And again, I really just did that for you as viewers to really want to hear your opinion on what I just read and what that whole thing was about. And do you, as black men, particularly as black men, do you actually feel secure putting this woman in office based on what I just read? So all that being said, man, if you are interested in working with me, the main website to check out, it's freeguide.makeyourmove.com. Go put your information in there, and I'll send you a free guide on how to use innovative teamwork to reduce turnover. If it's your first time listening to me, I do host a podcast named the Move Swiftly Podcast. It's the #1 show on innovative teamwork. There are new episodes daily. I work with a lot of business owners to help them when it comes to reducing the turnover on their staff. I have a football playing background, so I use the lessons that I learned from the football world to help business owners. These are the books I have here. As you can see, I'm a reader. I read books, I write books, the whole thing. So all that being said, main website to check out, I'll give it to you one more time. It's makeyourmove.com. It's makeymove.com. One-stop shop for your teamwork and your self-development needs. As one Crookshank, your one and only Move Swiftly speaker. Check it out. You guys continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.